Hey everybody, it's Daniel and welcome once again to our beautiful house here in the romantic barrio de Arc de Triomphe in Barcelona. I'm here with my real life girlfriend, Gina.
My real life boyfriend, Daniel.
Gina is not her real name, but she is my real life girlfriend. And yes, we're going to talk a little bit today about New Year's resolutions. First of all, Happy New Year. This last year, 2020, was maybe a complicated year for a lot of people. Definitely a complicated year for everyone here in Spain. And, well, we're hoping 2021 is going to be much, much better. So, Gina, do you have any New Year's resolutions?
Well, I have some, yes.
Would you like to tell us maybe one New Year's resolution that you have?
I would like to be more active, as in I'd like to practice more yoga, go to the gym more.
Sounds good. That's one of mine too. I would like to just work out more. Back when things were normal, I was working out in the park a lot. I was working out on the beach, etc., etc. And then we had to stay home for a couple of months in 2020, and it was not good for my routine of working out because I usually would do it outdoors, and then I was just locked inside, and I was a little bit lazy, and it's been hard to get back into the routine. Anyway, it is important to have goals, don't you think, Gina?
It is, it definitely is, I agree.
Yeah, sounds good. And I was on the podcast this morning. You should definitely listen to my podcast. You can go to madridingles.net/podcast. /podcast con la R fuerte. Si quieres, madridingles.net/podcast y puedes escuchar mi podcast. You can listen to my podcast. I was talking this morning about how it's better to have systems rather than goals for these sort of New Year's resolutions. Your system is that you're going to do something twice a week or 3 times a week or 5 times a week or every day. You're just going to practice an ability until you get good at it, which is better than thinking about something that you want to happen in 5 years or something like that. What do you think about that, Gina?
I do agree. I think short-term goals, as I call it, are better than longer-term goals. So, for example, doing yoga once a week or going to the gym twice a week is a much more achievable goal than having six-pack in 5 years.
Yeah, that's exactly one of the examples I used in the podcast this morning. When I'm working out, I'm not thinking about maybe being able to see my abs 2 years from now. I'm thinking about if I go and I do something today, then that is the victory. I don't need to wait for 2 years. I think that's the key thing with these goals. Anyway, I've been doing goal setting in a pretty serious way for at least 10 years. And mainly the longest goals that I have, the longest term goals that I have are about 90 days. I really don't do more than that because, as we've seen this year, life is just so complicated and unpredictable that making plans for next summer just seems ridiculous. But 90 days, mostly what I do is just I set a goal every Sunday. I make a plan for the week, and I hope to do those things during the week. And those things take me in the direction of the goals. What do you think about that?
That's actually a really good strategy. I've seen you do it. But I don't do that for myself, unfortunately. I do make monthly goals, which I try to achieve. I do make yearly goals, which I always achieve, which is great. At least I achieve 90% of those, which is great. But I think, for example, last year was a really bad year for working out because I stayed home most of the time. But for some other things, it was quite good. So it really depends.
We're also both working at home now. I've always been working at home, but she's new to working at home, so it's a difficult adjustment for her. And I like the idea of long-term goals. Actually, when I set goals for a full year, a lot of times if it's going on my list of goals for the full year, it's something I'm already thinking about all the time, so I don't have to be reminded of it. So a lot of times I accomplish those anyway, without like thinking, oh, today I'm going to accomplish this goal. It's just, it's already at the top of my mind. That's why it's on my list of goals for the whole year. What do you think about that?
A couple of things. One being, well, let's say goals. You need to kind of also prioritize your goals. You can't have a bunch of unachievable things at once. You know what I mean?
Not even achievable things. Oh yeah. By the way, have 2 goals. Like if you're really good at this, have 2 or 3 goals. If you're not, just have 1. Like this is my biggest piece of advice. If you're a little bit doubtful about goals, have 1 goal and make it real easy. And then as soon as you achieve that goal, set another goal that's a little bit bigger. And continue doing that until you believe in the process. Because a lot of people, what they do is they set some goals that are like a little bit out of their reach, and then they try a little bit but not too hard, and then they decide, oh, I didn't reach that goal, so setting goals doesn't work.
Yeah.
Actually, setting goals definitely works. I would challenge you to find a single person who you consider to be, successful, who doesn't have goals, because they all have goals. It's just they've discovered a strategy that works for them to make goals that they can achieve and to work for those goals rather than, saying something ridiculous or saying something they don't really want to do. A lot of people also have goals. It's not really their goal. Have you ever fallen into that trap?
Something that's not my goal but somebody else's goal.
Yeah, it's like your parents tell you, oh, you need to be a doctor.
Story of my life.
And you might spend, but I know so many people like this. One of my closest friends here in Spain, he studied law because his parents told him, you need to be a lawyer. And he studied law for a few years, and then he realized this is not for him. But, it was a goal. He was working towards the goal. It just wasn't his goal. So he didn't really want it, and he didn't end up doing it.
Yeah.
It's a lot of people. If it's your goal and not your mom's goal, it's better, obviously.
I'm sure your mom's goal is great too, but yeah, it really depends on what you kind of want to achieve. I try to do three to four things, and 3 to 4 main things, like things that I really want to do. So it could be getting a better job, it could be learning a new language, or let's say riding a bicycle or learning to swim, or it could be learning to do a headstand. I mean, things that you consider...
Headstand?
Sure.
Yeah, okay.
It's just an example. I don't want to do a headstand, but I'm just saying it as an example of something that people might want to do. So I don't know, these are goals that are achievable, and you can practice a little bit about it, and you might have, at the end of the year, you'll have achieved something. And I'm not talking about things like, oh yes, I want to do 60 things, some of which are go to 10 countries, earn like $600,000, or learn like I want to speak 3 languages this year. I mean achievable things, like I want to have proper conversations in some language, or I want to read the newspaper, which is a really achievable goal.
Specific goals, yeah. There's a lot to be said about having your goals be as specific as possible. And something, I have an article, I'll put a link down here, about SMART goals, where it's specific, measurable, actionable, relevant, and time-bound. But specific is the first one because it's so important. If your goal is not specific, like how do you know when you've achieved this goal? If your goal is I'm going to learn English,
yeah,
how do you know when you have learned English?
This is really relevant because it's quite relevant, at least for me, because when I was learning Spanish, I did not do, I really didn't make quite a lot of effort, which is the first part, because my job entailed me working in English all the time. So I did not have really specific reasons to learn Spanish.
Sounds like your goal wasn't relevant.
It was not relevant at all for me at that time. And then once I started speaking to people, I understood that there was a huge miscommunication because, I'm in Spain. It seems really stupid at this point to think that, I couldn't be in Spain and not learn Spanish. But at that time, I did not think that I needed it because it was my second month or third month here. I've been 3 months and I didn't have to learn much. But then after a while, I made it a goal to learn. And by this, I don't mean that I went to a language school. I did 6 hours a day. I didn't do much at all. Me learning started with my flatmate telling me by taking a fork saying that tenedor like 6 times until I learned the word tenedor. And then I ended up going to the office and having like little post-it notes all around me where it said like, I don't know, mboli, like a pen with like a little note saying that it's a pen, or lapis saying that, okay, that's a pencil. So things like that. It started with that, and then I just wanted to have a conversation. For the first year, it was all about having a conversation with my flatmate because I had 3 flatmates and 2 of them spoke okay English and one of them spoke no English whatsoever. And I learned that it's a problem because I was trying to explain to him once that I was embarrassed about something.
Oh no.
And he asked me if I was embarazada. And then I understood that, oh, I don't know what that means. And I Googled it, meaning that what he thought I was pregnant. And all I wanted to say that I was embarrassed. Which...
Avergonzada.
Yeah, exactly. But my Spanish was not good at all. Obviously, me making no effort played a huge part in, that miscommunication. And then I understood that, oh, okay, I need to have basic conversation with somebody I like, clearly, because he was a really nice guy.
Specific goal.
Have
a conversation with Pedro, right?
Right.
Okay. Yeah, and that's great. I would like to also point out that I've spent a lot of time teaching people. I'm going to look at the camera now. I've spent a lot of time teaching people English, and a lot of people want to move to an English-speaking country, but they think that they need to achieve like some sort of upper intermediate level of a language before they go anywhere. And I believe Gina here moved to Spain without even knowing hola.
Oh, this is really stupid. Well, when you say it like that, I think I made a lot of stupid decisions. But
No, I think that's awesome. I think that's a great story.
Yeah, so I got offered like 2 internships, one in Australia and one in Spain. And I thought, oh, where should I go? And the Australia one didn't excite me that much, not because of the country, but because of the topic of the internship. And I thought, oh, Spain. I've never heard much about Spain. Know something about, a little bit of stuff from Spain, which are really awful things about bullfighting. And I thought, oh, sounds good. Moved here. Literally didn't know what hola meant. My boss picked me up from the airport. And I had a friend who I worked with in Dubai who was Spanish. And then he came to me and said, oh, let me take to the supermarket, the things that you might need, like basic things like blankets and stuff like that. You don't know the place, so I'll come up, which is really nice. So he came up to where I was living, took me out to Carrefour.
Carrefour, of course, a Spanish classic. Actually, I think it's a French classic, but yeah, we have them in Spain too.
Yeah, so I went to Carrefour and he said, manzana. And I'm like, there's no way in hell I'm going to pronounce that. That's just... I cannot say that because I don't know what that is and what kind of noise are you making with your mouth.
Manzana.
And he looked at me and he said, Zara. Zara, right? And I'm like, Zara? What is this? Like Zara? And he looked at me and said, this is going to be a problem.
Zara, the clothing brand.
Yeah.
You knew about this, but you were calling it Zara the whole time?
Yeah, it's Zara. I mean, it's with a Z, isn't it?
Yes,
if
of course.
It's with a Z, it's Zara.
Listen, Spanish people, it's Zara.
Now, it's stupid, but I mean, at the time, he said like Zara. And then he said, what about this store? Right next to that was Sfera.
Sfera, of course.
Yeah. And I'm like, Sfera? And he's like, ooh, this is definitely going to be a problem.
Yeah.
And then he took the apple in Carrefour in the middle of the aisle and he was like, say manzana. And I'm like, manzana. And he was like, no, manzana. I'm like, I don't understand what you're doing with your mouth. I'm really sorry, but I really don't understand. And then he said, I think you'll have to hire a tutor. And I'm like, I barely make money. I'm here for an internship. I'm not going to hire a tutor. And then, now I speak Spanish. So
and then a couple of years later, she met me. And,
well, the Spanish happened before that.
Now she's speaking perfect Spanish. Anyway, this is the point of this being that a lot of people spend, 3 years planning to go somewhere out of Spain or out of their country because they think they need to have some high level of English.
Yeah.
You really don't. You will learn more just by being confused and frustrated in an English-speaking country.
True.
Like 1 month of being confused and frustrating in an English-speaking country is worth probably 1 year of taking classes in a language school. I know because I did both. I came and I was confused and frustrated here in Spain too, and I also taught people in language schools. And the confused and frustrating in a foreign country thing is difficult at the beginning, but it gets easier really quickly.
Oh yeah. It definitely does. It definitely does get easier.
Do you remember a moment when you thought that suddenly oh, this is easy?
A moment when I thought it was easy. I used to have a lot of trouble with the informatico guy from my...
The informatico.
Yeah, informatico. The guy...
The IT technician.
The IT technician. It was usually an issue because I would need something. I had no way how to communicate with this guy, especially not just normal or like a stuff, but also like things like, oh, my computer's not working, because I didn't know enough to say what computer was. And it was an actual issue. And then, so this muchacho. So speaking to him was the first part where it was something really basic, like, oh yeah, I needed, I actually need like a cable, but it is super easy to say when you think about it now. But yeah, just asking for yeah, exactly. So the first time I had that conversation was easy. And the best part was actually having the conversation with my receptionist. We had a receptionist who was just a wonderful guy. Bless his heart. He always actually took Google, actually spoke to, it has like a little function where you can speak to it. So he actually spoke to the thing, recorded it, and then he translated it and then played for us, and it would speak back to me in English.
You press play.
Yeah, you press play, and then it will say whatever he recorded in English to me.
Yeah.
So he made such a huge effort with me. It was just really shameful that I didn't speak anything whatsoever. So having a conversation with him and knowing that he loved this hairdresser girl from Marco Aldani. What is it?
Marco Aldani, yeah. I don't know. He was in love with his hairdresser.
Yeah.
And
Fun story.
This was the conversation you had.
Oh yeah, because he always talks about this girl Christina, and I didn't know what the hell was with Christina, So that was actually really fun, and that was a simple conversation because she was like, oh, he's completely obsessed with this girl. So that was my first nice conversation where I was like, oh, that's easy.
Great, and it worked. Well, thank you very much, Gina.
You're welcome.
Not her real name.
Not her real name.
Yes, thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. We will see you very soon.
Thank you.
For another episode of the Daniel Welsh video podcast show from here in our new house in the romantico barrio de Arc de Triomphe.
De Arc de Triomphe, yes.
Yes. So I hope you all have a great day, and we'll talk soon.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Bye.